Hey, Wayne Fox, I got this big box today. Let me get this out of the way for a minute. I had a lot of fun doing the unboxing video before. I thought, well, this is a big box, why not do a big unboxing video? Anyway, my friend Randy Collier has been using an iMac at home, and he's got a pretty good MacBook Pro. He's got the 6-core 2018 version, which we've already found out from my previous video that it's quite a bit faster than any iMac other than the 14-core one. The current iMac Pros, and his is just a normal iMac from 2 or 3, 4 years ago. And so it didn't make a lot of sense for him to keep fiddling between the two computers, because the one he's carrying around is way more powerful than the iMac. iMac's got a pretty nice screen on it, but we decided that maybe it's time to set him up kind of a little different, and we're reviewing what possible monitors he could use. And I mentioned to him that the BenQ monitors, which are fairly new, have gotten a pretty good reputation for photographers as far as the ability to use in color matching to try to get good color out of your prints. Just a quick preface, and I don't want to go into too much detail on this. One thing I teach quite a bit of is color management, how to calibrate and how to profile your displays so that you can get your prints to match. One of the things that a lot of people misunderstand is that, you know, these monitors weren't designed for us photographers, and they're not really intended for that. So what we're trying to do is use a device to simulate what a print would look like. And the monitor is really the only thing that can do that. Now, there's no way that a light emitting display will ever match a piece of paper with light reflecting off of it. But it can be pretty accurate and very, very helpful if you get a fairly decent one. Now, I currently use the NEC displays, which are pretty high priced, pretty high end, have some amazing color management tools, and they actually calibrate and profile internally. So they're actually a little more accurate, but they're pretty pricey. And as we reviewed the possibilities, the BenQ one came to mind, because BenQ's, like I said, it's got a pretty good reputation for building monitors for different segments, and photographers especially. As we reviewed it, we talked about whether he should get a 4K monitor because his iMac is a, Retina display kind of a thing. And we both kind of decided that, I actually don't use 4K monitors for photography, and I really don't like them, because if I go to 1:1 on a picture, it's too little. And so I've really got to go 2:1. Well, now I'm not sure how accurate it is. And as long as you're using it at native resolution, I think a good normal resolution monitor is really pretty good. Now, the difference in price is pretty substantial, $500, $600, $700. So anyway, what we decided was to try this BenQ 27. And I thought, well, it's a big box. Let's do an unboxing video, and let's just see how it works. Okay, I learned from my last unboxing video not to mess it up, because you can't fix it, so I'll try not to mess it up. Problem is, I don't even know if my head will show when I stand up. Anyway, let's get this thing cut open. And maybe what I'll do is set it down on the floor and then pull the pieces out. Isn't this fun? I might just speed this part up really fast. I'll probably break the dang thing. It's pretty fun to open new stuff, though. I like technology. And I hope this is as good as it sounds, because I get asked all the time about a monitor. Now, BenQ, I don't know who BenQ is, but BenQ monitors, they have several kinds, and they're all kinds of types. If you're a photographer out there, make sure you're looking at the ones that are for photographers. I assume that they all work similar, other than the resolution. If you want to go ahead and spring for the 4K, no problem. I think with Randy, we decided that this was all he needed. I'm going to have so much stuff laying out here, I don't know if I can manage it. All right, so basically what we get is the display itself. And notice it's a full 16:9 resolution. It's a little skinnier than my NECs. Pretty nice for video work. You get a display port to mini display port cable. You get a boy, I don't know why they give you one of these. What is it, DVI? I can't remember what you call those anymore. It gives you a USB cable because you can hook the USB into your computer, and then it's a USB hub that's built in. This is the stand, and obviously the power cord, and the little box has a little puck on it. I think, let me get this open here. Yeah, so this is a little control puck, and the one thing that's cool about this is you can set up different calibrations, and just by pushing one of these buttons you can switch from one calibration to the other. So for example, if you're calibrating to or to printing prints, 6500 is too wide of a white balance and you'll never get a match. Your prints will always look yellow. But if you're calibrating so it looks good on the web, and you use a warmer calibration so the prints look right, then they're going to look, off as well. So you can set it up with different brightnesses and color balances, so whatever your purpose for the file is, you can actually optimize the monitor so you can see what you're going to get. I don't even know if my head's cut off here. I'm probably cutting my head off. Anyway, I'm going to put this thing together, and then I'm going to do a complete step through on how you set it up, how you profile it, and just give you my opinion on how good it is as far as color quality. So as soon as I get all that done, I'll put that into a video, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So I'll see you in a few days. Well, I'm back. I got the monitor put together. As you can see, it does come with a very nice hood. I think that's a real plus for photographers because, as I mentioned, this controls ambient light striking the surface and causes loss of contrast, things like that. One interesting thing, the hood does feature a little door here. I don't think you can see it. I'll take a picture of it. And so you can use it to get your colorimeter when you calibrate it. Has a handle on the thing. It was pretty easy to put together. Has a handle here. And let me just turn it so we can see it sideways. As you can see, I can rotate it, and I can adjust it up and down, and I can also adjust the tilt. And there's a little marker here so that once you get the height set, it will let you put it back to the same position without too much trouble. One little trick I did discover, it also can rotate vertically. And when you're plugging in the cables, the only way you can really see to do that is to turn it so you can see the cables that are back here. It has on the outputs, it has a USB 3 that goes to your computer. And this is the kind of weird one that's a square one, it's kind of like a double cable plug. I don't know if you've seen those USB 3, but then it has your display port. It does have an HDMI. It has the DVI. It's got a microphone jack, I believe. It's got a headphone jack in it. I think that's what that is. And then it's also got the little plug for the OSD. Let's turn this back to where it was. And I'll drop it back down so you can see me a little bit. It pivots this way very easily as well, so it's very, very flexible, pretty easy to set it up. This is the OSD display, and it allows you to go from three calibration settings. It comes default from the factory with the Adobe RGB as 1, with sRGB as 2, and then 3 is to switch it immediately to black and white. I assume that switched. It also allows you to control the on-screen dialog boxes. So instead of the buttons on the bottom, which are over here on the bottom of this side, you can use the little puck to do all of that kind of stuff. And that gives you even some more options. This is a 10-bit monitor, not 8-bit like a lot of monitors. And it has a 14-bit LUT or lookup table. So it's actually able to show about 99% of the Adobe RGB space. A lot of photographers misunderstand the relationship of those spaces to what they do. And really all that it matters is how big the space is, and then if your software can map your images so that you see what you expected to get. Anyway, let's get into that in another video. I'm going to show real quickly how you calibrate the monitor. As I mentioned, the one thing I think that makes it good is that if you want to really use this to get good color matching, you're not going to want to use a D6500, which is way too blue of light, way too white. And what you really need to do is set up your luminance and your white balance, and you just keep changing that setting and reprofiling until what's on the screen matches your print that's in your viewing station, which is very well lit. And one of the nice things about this is the lookup tables and the color calibration is internal to the unit, just like my NEC. So it's really not using the graphics card to do that. It's not using the profile in the computer, even though there is a profile that it uses. Most of what it's doing is internal, which means it's very, very repeatable, and it can almost self-calibrate itself. So I think it really has a lot of the features of the high-end monitors like the Eizo and like the NECs. And we're talking a $590. I think this thing is $600 right now. And so that's actually pretty amazing to me. So let me just, I'm going to go ahead and hit ScreenFlow, and we're going to show how you calibrate it. I'm just going to walk through that really quick. This isn't a video on how to do that. So it does come with a software called Palette Master software. And basically you load it up on your computer, and it'll detect your monitor. You locate the actual calibration device that you're wanting to use. In this case, I have an Osd Display Pro. The one thing I didn't mention is that it does come with a USB hub, and there are some USB ports. And so to calibrate, all I really need to do is plug the sensor in here. The other thing that's kind of cool, it has an SD card reader built into it. So if you're using a MacBook Pro and you hook it up, it gives you your SD card reader, and it gives you a couple of USB 3 ports as well. We're going to open our little window here. I'm going to go ahead and turn the monitor on, even though it hasn't told me to do that yet. We're just going to drop this down so it's in there. And then we'll go back to the software. Now if I check the sensor, then the check mark goes on. It shows that it can detect the sensor. I'm going to go ahead and use the advanced mode because I think that would be your best bet if you're a photographer. We'll hit start, and we're going to do profiling. Next. I've got it set to custom settings. These are the defaults. Photographer Adobe RGB, that's what the factory installs in it. And this is the white point. I'm going to say, you know what? Typically when I'm profiling a monitor for a customer, my starting point is 5500, and the RGB primaries, I usually go panel native because that gives you the fullest gamut that you can. The luminance, I always start 120 is the point that I start. Gamma, I leave alone. Usually you go ahead and put absolute 0 for the black point. I'm going to experiment with some of these to see if there's ways to set it up better. So we have all those settings. If we want to save those settings, we can give those a name. So I can call it my 5500. All right, there we go. Hit next. Now we can tell it what calibration to put this in. This corresponds to the number on the little puck, whether we want this saved in calibration 1 or calibration 2. It's going to go ahead and give it a name, and you notice the name gives me the information, gives me the white point, gives me the gamma, gives me the luminance value all in there. If you want it in the system level, which is typically what you want to do, I would click that. Usually profile version 4, and I've heard some people say that they get a better result with a 16-bit LUT lookup table. I don't know that it matters too much. I would typically go ahead and use the large. The more patches you test, the smoother the variations or the smoother things can be. Start calibration button. I can't actually see it. There we go. Start measurement. And then will it continue? Okay, let me turn this back around. So basically what you want to do is position your colorimeter, and I do recommend the i1 display. One thing is, does not come with one. You want to put it in that position, and then you want to usually tilt the display back so that gravity keeps that nice and flat. Okay, and then see if I can see that to hit continue again. And it will take a few minutes to do this. While it's going through the process, you know, I will mention, you know, my reviews are not super technical. I have a semi-technical background. I have a lot of years in color management, way before digital was even invented, and color controls in a standard photo lab. And so I'm kind of a cross between a geeky guy and a guy that just is fairly practical. And most people have a real hard time getting decent prints out because they don't understand how to set their color management up correctly. I did calibrate this earlier. I'm just doing this to kind of show you how it works. The software is pretty cool. As I mentioned, it stores all the information in the display itself, so it's a self-calibrating display. Really cool because it probably means, and I haven't tried this, but your graphics card changes, it probably won't affect the color too much. But once I got it set up, I felt that I got a really good match to the prints that I made. I worked in Lightroom and Photoshop a little bit. Had it sitting right next to my NEC 30-inch displays that are around $2,500 monitors, or maybe a little more. And even though they have a couple of things that make them maybe slightly better, I'm not sure they're worth $2,000 better. So if you're a photographer, the nice thing is they've actually designed this for photographers, and it's really intended for their use, and they've actually put some things in there that make it really useful for trying to get good prints from your monitor and try to predict how the print's going to turn out. So I think for the money, it's probably a really good deal. Now they have a couple of other models, but as far as the photography models, they all have the same basic features. The only thing is they have, you know, 4K version, the 27-inch, and they have a 32-inch 4K version. And for the money, those are actually pretty good deals too. Yeah, they're more than $600, but they're still considerably less than NEC or Eizo 4K monitors. I think the Eizo 4K 30 inches in the $5,000 range. And they're pretty awesome. I think that any photographer that's got a Dell or some, even an Apple display, and they're looking for an upgrade because they want the ability to get a closer match to their prints, it's definitely worth looking into. Anyway, we're going to let this run, and when it gets all calibrated, I'm going to show you how the little buttons work, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So it's all finished. So I can take my colorimeter out now. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reset my camera up to show just the screen and try to get a good white balance and a decent picture on it, so I can switch the OSD device. Right now we're on number 1. We're going to switch it to sRGB. Should see a slight color change. Back to our normal setting. There's black and white. Not sure the white balance of the camera is picking it up as well as it should be. Visually, if you're looking at the monitor, when you switch it to sRGB, it gets a little brighter and it gets quite a bit cooler. So, all in all, like I said, I think it's a pretty good monitor for a photographer on a budget. Not sure that if it was me, I would spring for the NECs again. I think I'd probably pick up a couple of these because I think for the money, they do a great job. That does it for the video. I will have links to this on Amazon. This is where I bought it, down below. as well as the colorimeter that I use. It works with several other ones, but this is the one I recommend. If you don't have one, you don't have to calibrate it too often probably. Yeah, they recommend once a month, but I found that even going 6 months with some of these newer LED backlit displays works pretty good. And if this works like it claims, it's going to regulate internally, so it should stay in. So maybe you've got a buddy that's got one of these and you can borrow it if you can't really spring for one yet. I think that the default that you get won't be quite great. It'll be like any other monitor that you buy. And if you don't calibrate it to a little bit warmer white balance, you're seeing a bluer image than you're going to get on a piece of paper when you print it. Most of the time I find that you've got to calibrate to about 5500, even as low as 5200 to get a match to photo paper. But it still give you a pretty good, pretty close, and a lot of people are happy with that. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. See you next time.